Um, I meant to wanted to do this for a while. During to the COVID, a lot of people wanted to write as a way to keep the diary. Um, but now more and more people are wanting to do video and what's not. I just use video as a way to record what happening. Supposed to be done like a month ago when in March something, um, when 2 weeks prior to all the public school in New York State about to close, um, wanting to do it, but feeling different emotions. We're feeling very happy, sad, bored, but learning to realize out of this goodness there's a lot of positive things. But let's play a game first. So you can see right here, I'm sharing the screen. What do you notice? These pictures. Take about 10 seconds to look at this picture and see, well, what do you see? Just give you a little bit of background of the pictures. This was taken on today, May 5th, 2020. It's in New York subway. It's about 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. In the afternoon. This is not the only car that has a lot of people. To me, during coronavirus like this is way so many people. And then you can notice people in the back over here was sitting very close to each other. But one thing particular beside is, a little bit packed. What else do you guys notice? Let me zoom in a little bit. Do you guys see it? Yes, no, maybe so. Let me draw something. So you can see right here. Oh, I gotta use a different color. What color brushes? Okay. You see this guy right here? He has no mask on. And obviously the picture isn't clear, so it won't be able to identify who that is. But right beside him, actually, sitting right next to him, there's also two of his family members has wearing no mask whatsoever. And you wondering why New York State have the #1 corona cases, because with the mentality of, I live in New York, this is my right, I can do whatever I want, or I am healthy, why would you worry about me? It's not about whether you're healthy or not. Wearing a mask is to protect yourself and others. It may not be 100% sure, but living in a community, understanding that the fact that we have a pandemic, meaning it's happened globally, regardless of happened globally, not all within a community. I feel particularly in New York culture or New York City culture mentalities, people think that, there's many factors that are involved in it, right? But part of it was the mentality of, I'm a tough New Yorker, nothing will get to me. Or if you are, prior to this, a lot of doctors or scientists were saying, it will not impact young people. Young people will not get infected by the virus, but actually it is. And eventually they found out that, young people are also susceptible to coronavirus as well. So what we have not learned that much right now, May 5th, 2020, which I'm a little bit worried that the social distancing will be lifted by May 15, which is in about less than 2 weeks, 10 days. I'm afraid it's going to be another spike of corona cases again, because people still not wearing masks. They do not believe that wearing masks can help to reduce the spread or stay home. I doubt that all these people here on this train in these pictures are actually essential worker. Essential worker meaning either you work in grocery store, you work in dental, or some sort of practice that require your presence. Um, so it's really hard, but we do not. Let's backtrack a little bit of why this is that thing, and there's many factors that why coronas why New York City is the hot spot for corona. First of all is the attitude. Number one, because we thought that it did not happen in the US. We only start catching it, I think, late December in Washington, and we did not take it serious enough. When it started to spread a little bit further and further down, thanks to our president, actually, he tried to ban China from, from coming in. That was a good move, but it was not his decisions were being mocked and criticized for targeting the Chinese community. But actually, I think looking back, or even not even looking back, I thought it was at the time that I heard that policy. I think it's not something about racist. It's not something about you know targeted against a community. It's about safety, right? You know that this is coming from this area, and obviously you want to reduce or stop the flow of transportation, uh, people trafficking from that area to another area to spread. Um, and actually, Taiwan is in Asia. They actually did it in early January, where they actually stopped people coming from China. And surprisingly, Taiwan is a country that people will assume or anticipate that will have one of the highest corona cases, because due to the proximity of the country with China. And also there's a relation because there's also a high traffic of traveler, as well people travel between back and forth from China to Taiwan. Actually, in January, my friends, she's an international student. She's a Chinese citizen, and she was here in America, but she was not allowed to go back to Taiwan. So Taiwan have a very strict policy, and kudos for them because they did the right thing. And you could see as a result right now, they have one of the best country in Asia to have a good control with corona cases. There's not a lot of media shining on them for best practices, but there's a lot of media attention that shines on, how Trump decisions or the political movement of New York City between, you know, our mayor, our governor, their decisions, things they do. And honestly, a lot of things that this city has for, and you're looking back, a lot of these politicians don't actually do things um, for the right reason, or do things for the benefit of its people or for its citizens. So for example, I think in mid-March, um, the mayor actually decided, finally, actually he did not decide it because there was a lot of pressure from the parents, and also students have stopped coming into classes. But in February, corona case has spread in a lot of different states already, and we did not take it seriously. And actually, the chancellor and also the Chancellor of New York, as well as the Chancellor of Department of Education, as well as the Mayor of New York City, did not want to close the school for number one reason, because there was a there was an article that's saying they want to keep the school open for business purposes, and number two is to feed the student, because they need food, right? Because they're afraid they don't have any place to eat and what's not. But if you think logically, and now that we passed through it, but at the time I was thinking, well, this is life and threat situations, and people are dying. So if people are dying, how can they eat, right? If people are dying, how can you still do business? How do you earn that money? Because they're so focused on the profit, the revenue, I guess the tax revenue and what's not. And obviously it has a big impact all across, but ultimately, if you're not alive, think about it. How can you take advantage of all these things that they're claiming for? And it's not logical, right? And if anybody ever come in contact, either work in the school, go to school in New York City, or a parent of New York City's school student, we know that not so many people, not so many students eating school lunch. It's not very delicious, not very tasteful, it's dry, it's repetitive. Um, just because free, it does not have to be, doesn't taste good. And a lot of students that have actually, they waste a lot of money on that. New York Public School have to throw a lot of food out, and I'm sure it's also happened in other area as well. But this is particularly what I'm experiencing with. Not until, and then later, they actually decided. So at first they offered to give, when they closed the school, they offered to give food for the student. And I actually went to go get the food. Not a lot of people are taking it. They have a lot of leftover. Up until when they start expanding the program where they offer it to everyone, guess what? The food is gone because a lot of family members, a lot of people, doesn't matter if they have a student or currently attending school, it doesn't matter. They go get food, they will eat these food as in comparison where you set aside, for a certain population, in this case for student, but if they don't use it, we should give it to someone else who need it. And this is the problem with, I guess say, with the US culture. There's a lot of legality issues, and also there are a lot of things that doesn't absolutely make no sense whatsoever. And I feel like politician does not know how to protect their people. I feel like, the people, the leaderships of a city, of a state, it should be the people who actually, there's common people, right? Because what I notice is a lot of official position or politics position are run by business people, or right, and politicians. Those people have a lot of money, and guess what? They have the power, but they never been through, or they don't live in a common life of people. That's why they will never understand what it's like, and their decisions and their policy making is always focusing on profit, right? They don't think about what it is like as a common people. Because during that time, before the school closed, a lot of people complaining, a lot of people, parents, teachers, were writing, complaining, and the unions want the school to shut down because they fear coronavirus. They did not want to close the school. to be exact, right? They did not want the school to be closed because they feel like that's a way to keep the student, to babysit the student, or to watch the student, whatever you want, terminology you want to say. Um, and that was something that I actually thought of before, 2 weeks prior to the school close. And I actually make a post about it, and there's some teachers um, was like, "Oh, it's never gonna happen. The school will never shut down." And they were also criticizing, and they say, what about the people who need, who had to go to work and have no place to drop the kids off? And here's the thing, right? There is always that. There's a lot of different factors. There's no way that you can satisfy all the situation. There's a solution may not satisfy everyone's need. So there was a lot of people, parents, who were complaining school should not shut down because the fact that they need a place to watch their kids while they're at work. But interestingly, after the school finally shut down, the teacher was still required to go in for the 3 days. And a lot of people, a lot of teachers, paraprofessional or who work for school, people were actually infected with coronavirus and are dead right now. Yep, they dead. Now what happened? Right? What, the families start gonna try to sue them and taking all these legal actions after this coronavirus pass? Is that a good move? I mean, is that something that people want? I mean, I think what the family member really want is that they still alive, right? Not compromising their life for this. So back to the point that people were claiming school is a place to watch student while essential worker, go to work. But interestingly, the DOE, the Department of Education in New York City, do offer a resource center where they can watch the kids, of essentials, the kids of the essential worker, like doctors, frontline people, frontline responders, and whatnot. But these resource centers are not utilized. Very few people are utilizing it. You know why? Because first of all, with coronavirus pandemic, we need to keep people away, or we need to stay home, right? So what happened is parents are not using the resource center to take care of the kid or babysit the kid because they don't want to risk their children's life by putting them into a bunch of people. If there's actually a bunch of people that was not at all, but actually in reality there were not a lot of people using it in the first place, right? Because they're afraid that kids might catch the coronavirus and whatnot. And with this pandemic, we need to either be the best bet is to stay home, or be in with the least people as much as possible. But when you go to a resource center, you're actually exposing yourself for a higher risk. And speaking about exposing, and I just want to talk about this point here. People still in New York City. Everything happened really slow, right? The cleaning, the shutdown out from 1 to 5 a.m. to clean did not come until last week or so, which is in May, the first week of May. They should have done it a long time ago. And then if I was a mayor, I would actually shut down the public transportation system either from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. No people should be traveling at that time, right? And if people, essential worker, need to travel, they need to book a cab or some sort of transportation that will have quarantine themselves in that during that travel. And that's what they did pretty well in Taiwan in that case. Because in Taiwan, when this news started to hit in February, the people who their citizen, the Taiwan citizen, when they return to Taiwan, they have this app to tracking them, but these people they take the situation seriously. People wearing masks, and it doesn't, and then they're wearing goggles, everything to kind of, rain poncho to protect themselves. And when they got, and they actually hire a cab, and the government mandated them to hire a cab to travel home to quarantine themselves for 14 days. So they did not use a public transportation whatsoever. So when this happened, I think in February, that's around New Year time, Lunar New Year, right? A lot of people are traveling to China and different Asian country. They go home. Corona already happened then, but people still going back to China and coming back to the U.S. That contribute part to the spread, right? It may not be the main factor because we also know that we are catch some people from Europe countries as well, but this is not to pinpoint a specific or the origins of where it's coming from, but there's different factors and there's different way and there are actually multiple ways that we could have done to actually reduce corona cases, and we still start to do it now. For example, implementing police officer. I mean, we don't want to run this. Also, our governor did not want to quarantine New York. I'm not sure whether it's the right move or not, because apparently New York is the hot spot, with the number one spot in corona cases. I mean, I wish we could be the number one in education, number one in technology, number one in the richest country, but we number one in corona. Why is that? That's not a good number to have, right? And we always talk about human rights. We talk about freedom, expression, and doing that. Right there, not wearing a mask. Can you argue that's a freedom expression? That's how they want to express themselves? No, that's not. That is totally unacceptable in this situation, because you're putting yourself and the community in dangers, because you feel like you can do whatever you want to do. Or perhaps people might think, okay, I'm not that person. How would I know? Well, you don't have to wear a mask. Maybe something covering your face, right? It could be a scarf. If you don't have money to buy a mask, it could be a scarf. It could be something, a mask covering, right? I remembered we had a what is this? In April, we across New York, and the social they were teaming up with British celebrity to do a global live concert to thank medical staff as well as the frontline responder. The first lady was there. A lot of people were thanking these frontline people. Honestly, do not thank them. Here's the reason why. Look at this picture again. You're putting yourself at risk. You're not wearing masks. You're not following the protocol. People are not taking it seriously. And I feel like as a city, as a mayor, as a governor, we should have this policy or this rule or this law that's saying you're going to receive a fine if you do not wear masks. Because regardless of how many times people was telling them, they must wear masks while they riding public transportation. Some people do not follow it, and that is enough. Only a few is enough to help yes, I would say the word help to corona case to pass. Um, I was actually an encounter while on my way to go shop food, and I encounter on a bus. There's this actually bus driver who did the right thing. She um, she told one of the passengers to put a mask on because they did not have anything. Um, and then later she decided to stop the bus. She said, "I will not. The bus will be out of service if you not putting something on, or you're not wearing anything." Um, and actually, another passenger decided to confront that passenger and ask him just to put something on. Honestly, he could have put the t-shirts like that and cover it himself, but there's no, I don't know, there's no self-aware that this is a pandemic. This people don't take it seriously, and psychologists or sociologists can take it a different way, can interpret it. Because sometimes people call it self-image, sometimes people call it, arrogant, or people feel like uncomfortable using a mask. Whatever they call, just put your mask on. And people might have an argument of saying, well, the CDC saying, um, wearing a mask will not prevent everything happening. Yeah, but the thing is, what if you have it? It's the chance that you reduce that spread. I don't know if you're understanding that fact. Just do it. Why there should be a lot of argument in terms of the basics of wearing masks? Okay, a lot of people dying. So I just hope this go away. But in this opportunity, I do see a lot of positive thing in life. I do see that our government system should not be run by politicians, should not be run by businessmen. It should be run by common people. Uh, just like in Europe, they had like people who can run for offices um, at the age of 21, 23, and what's not. They have a diverse background. They run because they actually want to improve the city, not because they want to benefit themselves. Um, and actually, the common people are the people who work in everyday life works will have a better idea and understanding um, of what people really is. So do not think the frontline responder, do not think the medical staff, because we are continuing to create this problem. The problem is that we're not wearing masks. The problem is that we're not taking it serious enough. The problem is that we continue to ride the public transportation system in such a crowd space like this. Take actions. Do something. Do your part. And hopefully we should have a law soon, a situation that people should be fined for not wearing masks in the public, period. It's not about human rights. It's not about freedom. And freedom is not free. We need everyone to be alive. And with that said, we need everybody to cooperate. We can do this together, but we cannot do this when there's some people decide that they can do whatever they want, and it takes these some people to increase the spike of corona case again, and they continue to put this medical staff and then this frontline responder at risk. The hazard pay that they're receiving will not be enough. So do not thank them, but just do your part. Do your part. continue to watch me doing my diary again.